Take a quiet moment and listen to this carefully, my friend. After you turn 60, your risk of cancer doesn't just rise a little, it climbs sharply and faster than most of us ever imagined. I know many folks my age who hear these numbers and feel a quiet jolt inside, just like you might be feeling right now. According to worldwide medical statistics, more than 60% of all new cancer cases are diagnosed in people over 60, and nearly 70% of cancer deaths happen in this same age group. In plain words, simply crossing that 60-year mark quietly places you in the highest risk category, even if you still feel strong and healthy most days. What worries so many of us even more is this: cancer almost never begins the day you first notice a symptom. Most tumors have been quietly growing inside you for 10 to 20 years before anything shows up. That means the choices you make today, how you eat, how you live, and especially how much you move, are directly shaping your health 5, 10, and even 15 years from now. Or pause for a second and picture this. The quiet decisions you make in the next few weeks could be the very things that let you keep climbing stairs without puffing, playing with your grandchildren without getting winded, or simply staying independent instead of becoming a worry for your children. Every single day, millions of new cells are made inside your body. Among them, a few always have tiny mistakes, damaged DNA, odd shapes, the kind that could one day turn troublesome. Normally, your body spots these troublemakers and quietly removes them, but after 60, that cleanup system starts to slow down. The enzymes that repair DNA don't work quite as well. Your immune system loses some of its sharp ability to recognize strange cells, and the built-in self-destruct program that tells bad cells to die off becomes less reliable. I understand if you're thinking, but I feel fine. Does this really apply to me? The truth, from everything I've seen helping people just like us, is that those same faulty cells your body handled easily at 40 now have a better chance to survive, multiply, and eventually form a real tumor. There is no loud alarm. There are no clear warning signs at first, just a slow, silent buildup. Until one day, it feels too late. And here is the part that surprises most people I talk with. Among all the complicated things happening inside you, there is one simple daily habit that science has proven can lower the risk of many different cancers, by anywhere from 10% to more than 40%. It is not a pill. It is not some high-tech gadget. It is something you can control starting right this minute. The trouble is, most folks either do not do it at all, or do it the wrong way. I've watched it happen with friends and neighbors for years. Before you brush this aside and think, "Oh, I've heard all this before," please understand one important truth. The real question is not whether you know about it, but how deeply you understand it, and how you actually put it into practice. When most people hear that moving their body can protect their health, they usually react in one of two ways. Some brush it off and say, a short walk can't possibly make much difference. Others swing to the opposite extreme and push themselves into hard, intense workouts, believing that more is always better. Both approaches cause them to miss the real benefit that careful science has clearly shown. I once knew a gentleman, 65 years old, who joined a gym and went hard for a few weeks, then quit because his body hurt and he felt discouraged. He missed the sweet spot of steady, moderate movement that actually works. The truth is, the human body does not respond well to extremes. It does not need big shocks to change. Instead, it responds most powerfully to steady, repeated, moderate signals, like tending a garden. A little water every single day keeps the plants strong and green, while a sudden flood or total drought does more harm than good. That is why regular, moderate movement every day has such a deep effect on your body's built-in defenses. Let us go back to what is happening at the cellular level. When you stay still for long stretches, your body slowly slips into a sluggish state. Blood flow slows, metabolism becomes less efficient, and the signals that repair and renew cells grow weaker. You may not feel this right away, but it builds up over time. On the other hand, even a brisk 20-minute walk sets off a chain of helpful reactions almost immediately. Your heart rate rises and sends more oxygen to every tissue. Your muscles contract and release special signaling molecules, sometimes called myokines, that help calm your immune system and reduce inflammation. Blood circulates better, so immune cells can patrol the body more effectively, like a neighborhood watch team with better transportation and faster speed. One of the most noticeable changes happens in your immune system. Natural killer cells, the ones whose job is to hunt down and destroy abnormal cells, are released into the bloodstream in greater numbers after each session of movement. This is not just a short-term effect. When you keep the habit going for weeks and months, these cells actually become sharper and more efficient at spotting and removing threats. At the same time, the inner environment of your body becomes less friendly to cancer. One of the biggest promoters of cancer growth is low-grade chronic inflammation, the quiet, ongoing kind you cannot see, like a cut or infection, but which keeps tissues in a low-level, irritated state. Regular movement lowers this inflammation. Blood markers such as CRP and interleukin-6 tend to drop, while natural anti-inflammatory signals rise. You may not feel the shift right away, but at the cellular level, it is a very important change. Many people do not realize that sitting for long periods is a risk factor all by itself. It is not just the absence of exercise. The act of sitting hour after hour has been linked to higher cancer risk. I remember my own brother. He would sit 8 hours watching the news, then squeeze in 1 hour at the gym, and still wonder why his energy kept dropping. When you sit, muscle activity drops to almost nothing. Energy burning slows, and inflammatory signals tend to rise. This creates an unhealthy background over time. So, the issue is not only whether you exercise, but how much you move throughout the entire day. Someone who spends an hour in the gym, but sits for the other 10 hours, may not gain as much benefit as they think. On the other hand, a person who moves lightly and naturally during the day, standing up, walking around, doing short bursts of activity, combined with 20 to 30 minutes of moderate effort, often gets far better results. This brings us to a very important principle. Your body does not separate formal exercise from everyday movement. It only responds to the signals you send. Every time you stand up, every step you take, every time you choose to move instead of stay seated, you are telling your body, I need you to stay active, to keep repairing, to stay protected. You might ask, can such small changes really make a big difference? The answer is yes, but not in the dramatic way you might expect. It is not a sudden overhaul. It is a gradual shift. Think of it like adding a little money to a savings account each day. The amounts are small, but over time the total becomes meaningful. The key is to give your body enough time to adapt. In the first few days, you may feel nothing special. After a couple of weeks, your sleep may improve, and your daily energy may feel steadier. After a few months, the deeper changes start to show, changes you cannot see directly, but can be measured in your blood work and how you feel overall. I've watched this happen with a lovely lady of 68, who started with just 25 minutes of walking each morning. Within months, she was climbing stairs without puffing, and her doctor told her her inflammation markers had dropped noticeably. She said the best part was being able to lift her grandchildren again without feeling exhausted. And this is exactly where many people give up too soon. They do not see instant results, so they decide their effort is not working. In reality, they are stopping just before the real benefits begin to pile up. Your body needs patience, and in return, it rewards you in ways that are truly worthwhile. When you look at movement this way, it stops feeling like a chore or an obligation. It becomes a simple but powerful tool that lets you influence how your body works and helps lower your risks before they become real problems. Best of all, you do not need anyone's permission. You can start right now with whatever you have, right where you are standing. Once you begin to see movement as a biological signal you send to your body every day instead of a duty, everything starts to change. You stop asking, should I exercise today? And begin asking, have I given my body enough movement signals today? But to understand why this matters so much, especially after 60, you need to look a little deeper at how your body responds over time. At this stage of life, it is no longer just about staying healthy. It is about making up for the natural slowdowns that come with age. When you were younger, you had a large biological reserve. You could stay up late, eat poorly, and move very little for long stretches and still feel mostly fine. That did not mean nothing was happening inside. It only meant your body was quietly compensating. After 60, that compensation ability drops noticeably. Small imbalances start to add up faster. One of the most important changes at this age is the gradual loss of muscle mass. You may not notice it day to day, but after 50, most people lose 1 to 2% of their muscle each year if they do nothing to stop it. This affects far more than strength or how easily you get around. It also affects metabolism, immune function, and even cancer risk. Muscle is not just an engine for movement. It is also an endocrine organ that releases helpful molecules to control inflammation, improve insulin sensitivity, and support your immune system. When muscle mass declines, all those benefits decline too. Regular movement, even simple brisk walking, is the most direct way to slow this loss. It keeps muscles active and sends positive signals throughout the body, like a coordinating system that helps every organ work together more smoothly. Another often overlooked factor is circulation. Movement improves blood flow, delivering oxygen and nutrients to every cell, including those deeper tissues and organs that get forgotten when you sit too much. Good circulation also helps remove waste and toxins that can contribute to disease if they build up. Picture your body as a city. When you move, traffic flows smoothly. Supplies reach every neighborhood, and waste is cleared away. When you stay still, traffic slows, congestion builds, and the whole system becomes less efficient. In that kind of environment, cancer can find it easier to grow. Movement also affects how you feel and respond to daily life. People who stay active usually sleep better, handle stress better, and enjoy steadier energy. This improves quality of life and indirectly strengthens long-term health, because chronic stress, like chronic inflammation, can weaken your defenses and make disease more likely. I know many people my age who say the biggest gift is simply feeling more confident when their children don't have to worry about them. You can begin to see the bigger picture. Immunity, inflammation, circulation, muscle, and metabolism are all connected. They influence one another, and movement is one of the few daily actions that can positively affect all of them at the same time. That is why large studies consistently show that people who move regularly do not just lower the risk of one disease, they lower the risk of many: heart disease, diabetes, and several cancers. Not because movement cures each one separately, but because it improves the overall biological foundation of the body. Still, there is a reality you need to face. Knowing all this does not automatically mean you will do it. Many people understand the benefits, yet still struggle to keep the habit. The problem is not lack of information, it is how they approach it. They set goals that are too big. They wait for motivation. They think they need perfect time, perfect energy, and perfect conditions before they can start. When those conditions never arrive, they keep putting it off. But if you look back at everything we have covered, you will see one clear truth. Your body does not ask for perfection. It only asks for consistency. You do not need an hour every day. You do not need fancy equipment. You do not need a complicated plan. You only need to begin with a small window, 20 minutes, and repeat it long enough for it to become a natural part of your life. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You do not do it because you suddenly feel inspired. You do it because you know it is necessary, and you have made it a habit. Movement can become exactly the same, a steady, almost automatic part of your day. I've seen so many people start small, just because they wanted to keep playing with their grandchildren without getting tired. And within months, they felt like a new person. When you reach that point, you no longer have to try to keep it going. It simply happens. And that is when the benefits really start to add up. You may not see the change in the mirror right away, but inside your body's working differently. Its systems are being supported, your risks are being lowered, and most important, you are taking an active hand in your own future health, not with complicated measures, but with one simple action repeated every day. It is not magic, but if you stay with it long enough, the results can feel almost magical to many people. Imagine 5 years from now, maybe even 10. You are still able to walk to the store on your own, lift your grandchildren without getting winded, and enjoy the golden years without becoming a burden on your family. That future is closer than you think, and it starts with the small steps you take today. When you keep that consistency going for a good stretch of time, something interesting begins to happen. Your body does not just react, it adapts. This adaptation is not something you feel dramatically in the first few days. It is a quiet, step-by-step process, just like the way health problems also build slowly over time. At first, you may simply notice that your body feels a little more comfortable after moving. Breathing is deeper, your mind is clearer, and sleep comes more easily at night. These small improvements can be easy to overlook because they are not flashy. But if you continue, deeper changes start to appear. Your cardiovascular system becomes more efficient. Your heart does not have to work as hard to pump blood. Blood vessels stay more flexible and less stiff. At the same time, your body's sensitivity to insulin improves. Hormones come into better balance. Cortisol, the stress hormone, tends to stay steadier. Growth and repair hormones are gently encouraged, supporting cell renewal. In a quiet way, you are reminding your body that it still needs to stay resilient and adaptable, instead of simply accepting decline as inevitable. But perhaps the most important thing is not any single system working alone. It is how all of them work together. When you move regularly, you are not just improving one function. You are upgrading the entire operating network of your body. And when that network runs smoothly, its ability to detect and handle problems, including abnormal cells, improves dramatically. A very practical way to think about it is this. Instead of telling yourself you are preventing cancer, tell yourself you are creating an environment in which cancer has a harder time taking hold. That shift in thinking moves the focus from fighting one specific disease to simply making your whole system work better. Cancer, in most cases, is not caused by a single factor. It grows when several conditions come together: accumulated DNA mistakes, a weaker immune system, a low-grade inflammatory environment, and disrupted metabolism. Regular movement touches all of those conditions at once. You cannot remove every risk, but you make the path to disease much more difficult. And here is something you need to understand clearly. The benefits of movement are not linear. More is not always better forever. There is a sweet spot, an amount where your body gets the maximum benefit. Going far beyond that does not necessarily add more protection and can sometimes create unnecessary strain that brings us back to the idea of moderate intensity. At that level, you give your body a strong enough signal to respond without overwhelming it. It is like training your body rather than punishing it. And that balance is the real secret to staying with it for the long run. You do not need to compare yourself with anyone else. Every body is different. Every life is different. Every set of abilities is different. The only thing that matters is whether you are doing a little better than you did yesterday. And in this case, better can simply mean you stood up and moved. One more important point. Movement does not have to be separate from your life. You do not need to set aside a special time if that feels difficult. Instead, you can weave movement into what you already do. Walk while you talk on the phone. Choose the stairs instead of the elevator. Spend 20 minutes in the morning or evening walking around your neighborhood. These things sound small, but they form the foundation. One final thing to consider is that time is not on your side in a negative way, but in a very real way. What you do today affects not only tomorrow, but many years ahead. Because cancer grows slowly, the small actions you take now can create a large difference later. You cannot go back and change what happened in the last 10 years, but you can absolutely influence the next 10 years. Imagine yourself at 75. Do you want to be the person who still walks comfortably, climbs stairs on your own, takes care of yourself independently, or the one who has to rely on others for every little thing? Those two futures are being written right now, one small choice at a time. If you pause and think about it, none of this is complicated. It does not ask you to become a different person. It only asks you to begin and then to keep going. And perhaps the most important question is not, does this work? But, are you willing to do one simple thing every day, long enough for it to make a real difference? If you answer that question honestly right now, you will see that the biggest barrier is not knowledge or ability. It is the familiar habit of putting things off, the thought that I can start tomorrow. The problem is, your body does not run on your schedule. It does not wait for Monday, the first of the month, or the day you finally feel ready. Every day that passes, biological processes continue, whether you take an active role or not. So every day you do not move is not a neutral day. It is a day you miss the chance to strengthen your body's defenses. Think about it in very practical terms. If 20 to 30 minutes of movement each day can activate your immune system, reduce inflammation, improve circulation, and support cell repair, then skipping that for many days in a row means you are letting your body run below its best level for a long time. Nothing dramatic happens immediately, but that steady accumulation is what matters. One reason many people never start is that they misjudge the cost of movement. They think it takes too much time, drains energy, and leaves them more tired. In truth, when done the right way, the opposite usually happens. Your body becomes better at producing energy. You feel more alert and less fatigued during ordinary activities. This creates a positive loop. The more you move, the more energy you have to keep moving. To reach that point, you first have to get through the beginning phase, when your body is not yet used to the new pattern. For the first few days, you may feel a little tired, a little lazy, or simply unmotivated. That is normal. Your body is adjusting to a new signal and needs time to settle in. Boom. The important thing is not to let your feelings make the decision. If you only move when you feel like it, you will never stay with it. Instead, treat it like eating or sleeping. You do not ask yourself, do I want to eat today? You eat because your body needs it. Movement can become the same. A very effective way to build the habit is to reduce friction as much as possible. Make starting the easiest thing in the world. You do not need lots of preparation, fancy gear, or a special place. All you need is comfortable shoes and a regular slot in your day. You can even begin with less than 20 minutes. 10 minutes is fine. 15 minutes is fine. What matters is that you start and keep going. A simple but powerful strategy is to link movement to something you already do every day. Walk right after breakfast or right before your evening shower. When you connect the two actions, you remove the daily decision. The fewer decisions you have to make, the easier it is to continue. You can also use your surroundings. If there is a park nearby, make it your regular destination. If not, any sidewalk around your home can become your route. The goal is to create a space where movement feels familiar and easy to reach. Something worth noting is that you do not have to do this alone. Having a companion, a friend or family member, can greatly increase your chances of sticking with it. Not because they push you, but because their presence creates a gentle commitment. Even if you have no one to join you, you can create your own motivation by tracking your progress. Just mark the days you move on a simple calendar. Seeing an unbroken chain of days makes you want to keep it going. There will be days when things do not go smoothly. Rain, a busy schedule, or simply not feeling well. That is completely normal. The issue is not whether you miss a single day, but whether you return the next day. One missed day does not ruin the habit. Missing many days in a row can. So instead of aiming for never miss a day, aim for never miss 2 days in a row. It is a practical rule that allows flexibility while still protecting consistency. When you have kept the habit for a few months, you will notice something wonderful. You no longer have to force yourself. Movement has become a natural part of your day. You actually feel off if you skip it. That is the sign you have passed the hardest part. At that point, the benefits are no longer something you have to believe in. They are something you can feel. You sleep more deeply. You feel less tired. You move more easily. And most important, you know that inside, your body is working more efficiently. The beautiful part is that none of this requires you to turn your life upside down. You do not have to give up the things you enjoy. You do not have to follow a strict regimen. You simply add one gentle element. An element that is simple, yet reaches every system in your body. If you look back over everything we have covered, you will see a clear pattern. The simplest things are often the ones most easily overlooked. Not because they do not work, but because they do not feel dramatic. Their real power lies in their ability to be sustained, in their steadiness, in the way they can become a lasting part of your life. And in the case of slow-developing conditions like cancer, it is exactly those steady, sustainable factors that make the biggest difference. You do not need to do everything perfectly. You do not need to reach any special standard. You only need to begin and to continue long enough. Because in the end, the story is not about how much you do out in one day, but how much you do over many years. And those years, whether you realize it or not, keep moving forward. The only question left is this: which direction do you want those years to take you? I believe you can do this because I have watched thousands of people, just like you, start small and slowly transform their later years into something truly golden, full of energy, independence, and joy. You are not alone in this journey. Many of us are walking the same path, one gentle step at a time. So once again, the question remains unchanged. Will you begin today?